It's almost like putting an athlete on steroids. The immediate effects of a system that's based on credit, there's a lot of growth and there's like a boom and it's all great. And, the athlete can run 500 miles. But all of a sudden you realize that, zoom out over a longer time horizon, it's completely unsustainable. It's going to destroy that athlete's health. The athlete is eventually going to collapse in the same way that our economic system is now in this degenerative mode where people are getting poorer and poorer.
As a top-rated podcast host and influential Bitcoin educator, Natalie brings a unique perspective to the table. In this episode, we explore the untold stories behind Bitcoin, discussing its moral implications, its potential to reduce consumerist tendencies, and its role in fostering hope for a more prosperous future. But this isn't just another discussion about a number-go-up cryptocurrency. It's an eye-opening journey into the core of a revolutionary financial system. Natalie shares insights gained from her engaging interviews with Bitcoin pioneers, unraveling the distinctive properties that make Bitcoin truly transformative. Before we get on with the video, we'd like to introduce our sponsors who have made this series possible: Stampseed, the Orange Pill app, and Swan. It's our mission to provide our audience with a safe, reliable, and robust way to buy, store, and learn about Bitcoin. Our partners are businesses and people we respect, and are products that we at Bit Intelligence personally use. You're watching 21 Voices. Without further ado, here is Natalie Brunell from the Coin Stories podcast.
I'm so grateful that I've had the chance to interview all of these people who I respect and admire so much. I'm grateful that now some of them are my friends and mentors. And each of them, it's just such a unique journey that all of them went on, from their previous careers to discovering Bitcoin to now championing it. I would say that all of them have taught me different lessons about the different properties that make Bitcoin unique, why its neutrality is so important, why its unconfiscatability is so important, why the censorship resistant element is so important, how mining works, how the energy use is so critical and makes it so secure. So I've learned, something new from every interview, and I can't wait to see who else I can bring on the show, because there are so many people out there that I sit there and I'm like, these people are Bitcoiners, they just don't realize it. And so I can't wait for the day when they are Bitcoiners, they have come to that realization, and I can bring them on as guests too. I love that Bitcoin is apolitical. And no matter what your political affiliation is, no matter what economic system you live in, everyone can embrace and adopt Bitcoin and benefit from it. That's really at the heart of why I think Bitcoin does have so much hope, because it's one of the only things today that seems to remove the division and polarity that we see among us, as opposed to add to it and fuel it. I think so many people are feeling divided because they just don't know where to turn their frustration to. And so they think it's going to be, one candidate or one party that's going to come in like the white knight on a horse and save the day. And that's not the case. We kind of have to save ourselves, and we have to address what's wrong at the core of the system, which is money. And I feel like instead we sort of bicker about things that are the symptoms of a broken financial system, and we have more in common than we do that divides us, but we don't realize that because the media points to everything that's just a symptom, and we have so many distractions around us, and people are really frustrated that they're, not able to make ends meet when they're working harder and harder, and they don't realize that actually it's because of how our financial system works. So I have a lot of hope that, on a Bitcoin standard, not only would things improve economically, but just us as a society, we as people would be more cooperative. We would have the chance to innovate more, take more risks. Because if we go the opposite direction and we continue to lose economic hope and dignity, I think that's what pulls the fabric of a society and communities apart. And people just start to turn on one another and place themselves into silos. And so I have a lot of hope for a better, more prosperous world with Bitcoin.
Please bear with us for a quick message from our sponsors. These videos take a lot of time to shoot and edit, and we've partnered with brands we trust like Stampseed and the Orange Pill app in order to get the funding we need to bring you these videos every week. Don't store your Bitcoin in cold storage without stamping your seed phrase on an indestructible titanium plate. Stamp seed is fireproof, rust-proof, impact-proof, and easy to hide. It has no loose parts and will give you ultimate peace of mind that your Bitcoin is safe and sound for the long term. Click the link in the description below for 15% off your stamping kit. When I finally got Bitcoin, it hit me like a lightning bolt. This was the currency of the future, the only money that truly mattered. But there was a problem. I was a lone hodler in a sea of skeptics. That is, until I discovered the Orange Pill app. Suddenly, I was connected with a network of like-minded Bitcoin enthusiasts right in my own city. The Orange Pill app is more than just a social network. It's a community of passionate individuals determined to change the world, one Satoshi at a time. This series is brought to you by Swan and created by Bit Intelligence. Remember to like this video and subscribe to both our channels for more videos like this every week.
When I was a reporter, I always thought it was really strange that we measured the health of our economy by how much people were spending, even on credit cards, going into debt, rather than saving. I always thought that was weird because Thanksgiving and Christmas would come around and we would be reporting on, Black Friday, and it was all about how much people went out and spent on a ton of junk that was made overseas, right? And I just always thought, that's really weird. But that's what our system based on credit has created. It's incentivized people to go into debt. Debt is actually good in some cases because you can leverage it. You can, take out equity in your home and you're paying back dollars that are cheaper and cheaper with inflation. So they literally incentivize people to go into debt. But then you zoom out and it's almost like putting an athlete on steroids. The immediate effects of a system that's based on credit, there's a lot of growth and there's like a boom and it's all great and the athlete can run 500 miles, but all of a sudden you realize that zoom out over a longer time horizon, it's completely unsustainable. It's going to destroy that athlete's health. The athlete is eventually going to collapse in the same way that our economic system is now in this degenerative mode where people are getting poorer and poorer. The majority of people, we're losing a middle class, we're losing the ability for young people to make a living and acquire assets, whereas a very few people at the top, the closest to the money printer, are benefiting and they're getting wealthier and wealthier. So we really need something that strikes at the heart of that system and teaches people to save once again. Savings is the basis for capitalism, accumulating capital that you can then invest. And so I think we really need to re-teach people about the importance of saving. And I think one thing that I love about Bitcoin too is it's made me realize that all of these gains that supposedly things like the S&P 500 have had over the last decade, it's actually tracked the rate that the money supply is expanding. And while they tell us that inflation is 2%, it actually is far greater than that, especially in the things that are most important, like being able to buy a house or retire and have a nice, portfolio of assets. And Bitcoin actually really addresses that and fixes it. Drop your time preference and actually think about the long-term effects of all of your decisions. Right now, I think we live in a really short-term thinking culture and political world because it's all about basically making it to the next election, making it to the next paycheck and the next rent, payment. Everything is about just surviving in the short term because our money loses value over time. It loses its purchasing power. It is crazy to think that since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, that the dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power. And we are the supposedly strongest currency in the world. We're the global reserve currency. And every year that unit is just diluted because more and more dollars are printed. And I think it's like a race that you can't catch up to because the goalpost keeps moving. So to be able to save again, I think it allows people to actually plan for their future, to have hope, to take chances on new businesses, innovate more, be more cooperative, start families. I think a lot of people, we've seen family rates drop over the last several decades. And what you hear from young people is not necessarily this saying of, I don't want to have a family. It's, I don't know how to afford having a family. I can't afford a house. I can't imagine, paying for children and childcare and all of that. So I think a lot of things would change if we were able to return to a form of money that would allow us to save in the future without having to take so much risk and without having to try to pick a bunch of stocks that hopefully will go up in value over time or store all of our wealth in a house. We should just be able to count on the money. Do we want these houses to keep rising in value because we're pricing out young people? We're making it so that you have to pay ridiculous amounts in property taxes, right? And so I think that it's just, we don't question these things, and the things that we might assume are great and beneficial to us in creating wealth are actually hurting us and destroying society. Well, and the system has incentivized builders to just put up communities really, really quickly that aren't actually well built. It's crazy to look at places like Europe where, the structures, the homes, the churches, the buildings have withstood hundreds of years and they're still in perfect condition. Whereas here, I'm literally living in an apartment building that was built 3 years ago, and already I have part of my roof exposed because rain started to leak in the other day in a building that's 3 years old. I'm like, how does this happen? Well, a lot of these companies are putting it up as quickly and as cheaply as possible using cheaper and cheaper goods. And this is the result. People have to put in a ton of money when they go to having to maintain the house or repair it. And again, it's like, maybe we can have a system where things aren't like that, where quality actually lasts and endures the way it once did when we were on a standard of harder money. I don't know, that's my hope. I think that Bitcoin is a moral form of money because there is no one that can take advantage of anyone else. And it is an incorruptible network where you can't gain some outsized influence and change it at the expense of everyone else. That's what I think makes it the best form of money, because pretty much every other form of money has somehow been corrupted through centralization, where a small group of people, again, get to make decisions, get to manipulate the cost of capital, get to artificially stimulate or increase or lower interest rates that isn't based on free market economics. And so I want a form of money that allows people to just exchange value based on supply and demand and actual price signals that are accurate. And I wonder what our world would look like if we had that. And I wonder how much more cooperative we would be. And I think it's wonderful that, again, it doesn't matter what religion or political affiliation you have, Bitcoin is neutral to all of those.
Stay tuned for more enlightening discussions, and remember to subscribe for the latest recaps, insights, and films about all things Bitcoin.
What's up, everyone? My name's Bevan, and I'm the creator of the Bit Intelligence YouTube channel. We partnered with Swan for this original series so that we could reach the largest audience possible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to both of our channels below so that you don't miss a single episode.
This is 21 Voices. If you want to watch another episode, try this one here. We'll see you next time.